What's up, my dudes? So as you guys know, Call of Duty Zombies has been basically a deformed shit stain in comparison to what it used to be in World at War for the past, I don't know how many years. They went through all these different variations of zombies. They went to like an alien mode. They went to all this crazy stuff, and nothing has seemed to capture what the original zombies did back in World at War. Like that zombies mode, I mean, I probably spent just as much or maybe even more time into that than I did the multiplayer of that game, even though the multiplayer in that game was probably the best there ever has been in a Call of Duty. That just goes to show you how much replayability World at War had in it. Now, this game, from launch, there was one zombies map, and then they added another one like midways in there. So let's just talk about sort of the general basis of how it is. I was very impressed that they were going for more of this scary feeling to the zombies. You know, it wasn't like a super let's go around and shoot some aliens and bullshit, like, you know, all this weird stuff they've been doing with like cartoon style characters and lasers, and I don't really like all that, even though there was ray guns in the original one. I don't know. The ray gun was like, it had a classic feeling to it. I know it's weird to say that, but you just got to know what I'm saying. But this one, they were kind of playing it off to be this super scary thing, which it does manage to capture that. Like, for instance, there's certain places where if you run under like an overhang or an overpass, you'll have a zombie like drop down right in front of your face. And I gotta admit, that definitely damn near gave me a heart attack a couple times whenever I was playing this game with the headset on, no one else in the room, dark nighttime, headset on, and you get a zombie jump down right in front of your face. Like, it'll definitely give you that little bit of a scary movie spook, but it's not on the level of like an actual horror film style game. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, you know, I guess they were trying to kind of play it off like it was going to be this super scary zombies mode, like a super different sort of experience. And really what it is it's just kind of like normal zombies. It's your normal Call of Duty Zombies mode with just a little bit of more of a scare factor to it, which I don't mind that. I think, you know, it's cool that they did like that. I was happy that the map felt really similar to just your original zombies mode. Not too much crazy crap to have to do to get through the map or anything like that. Not too many crazy Easter eggs to get to the box and stuff. It was a little bit tricky actually finding those little things that you turn the dill to get the water into the whatever. I don't know what they call it, but you got to do that to even get to the power to turn on the rest of the map. So those things were a little tricky to find at the beginning, but now everybody's found them. I was able to figure it out on my own on the very first night, so it wasn't that difficult, so that's okay. But it did take me a second to figure that out. One thing that I didn't like, though, about the zombies in this game is the fact that there's hit markers. Ugh. That gives me a very bizarre feeling. I do not like hit markers in zombies. It almost makes me feel like I'm playing multiplayer and not zombies. Kind of eliminates a bit of that, like, blowing off their heads effect when you've got a damn hit marker thing popping up right where you're shooting. Not the biggest fan of it. I think it takes away some of the realism and some of the gore bloodiness of the zombies mode there. So yeah, just kind of makes it feel more like an arcade game, or like I'm saying, multiplayer mode, than it does like a super creepy zombies mode. But I feel like this game really captured the blowing the heads off and the bloodiness and the goriness more so than the past ones have captured. This is way more like what we had in the World at War era, and I really like how they structure their different zombie units in here. So like, you've got your standard zombies, they've got like sort of a fast walker. Instead of having dogs, it's almost like a bit of a faster sort of zombie that comes out in a ladder round. And then they also have some stuff like a bigger sort of zombie. I don't know if he has a chainsaw or what he has, but he's a lot harder to kill. You've got I think one of them's got a flamethrower, so that was a cool thing that they added. Bigger, sort of like Juggernaut style zombie. I like how they tiered it through the levels, and I like also the damage that it requires to kill those specific zombie units. That seems like they really balanced all that fairly well here. And it just all plays into that creep out factor of zombies. Like, nothing gets too crazy. It's not like you're seeing a octopus zombie or something. You know, everything plays into, it's very similar to kind of how Killing Floor is, if you know that game, kind of how those zombie units sort of stack through the tiers of them. It's very similar to that, so I really enjoy how they did that. The faster zombies can really give you a bit of a scare when they start running towards you pretty quickly. So even though it is quite a bit different than World at War in many ways, it's probably the closest thing we've had in a while to it. So now there's that first map like I was talking about, where it's a bit more like what we have been seeing in these recent Call of Duties, where you're just in this pretty big open map. You're kind of like going through all these different gates, and then you're trying to turn the power on and get to the box, doing that sort of thing. This game doesn't really capture the element of where you're like looking out of a window and shooting a zombie out of a window, and then you're rebuilding that window. Unless I'm totally missing something, I don't think you can rebuild the windows whatsoever in this game, which is very weird. Like, they break them down, but then you can never rebuild them. So that was a quite the bizarre thing there. But you remember the very first World at War Call of Duty Zombies map? Like, a lot of the early levels to that was like you're shooting out of the windows. You're not even shooting. Like, if you have zombies break into the room, like that's like, oh shit, zombies they're breaking in, you know, they're breaching. Whereas like this game, nearly the whole game is where the zombies have already breached in. You're not really shooting out of windows, so it eliminates a little bit of that, like, oh, we have our base really safe, and now oh shit, now they're breaking in. Especially on that bigger map, I mean, they're coming from all directions, popping out of the ground, going here, going there, doing all this crazy stuff. So it's a little bit different in that sense, but they did add that second, like, quote-unquote survival zombies map, and it is a very small map. I mean, very small. Literally downstairs and upstairs of a little baby cabin, and that's it. Unless I'm missing something. I mean, I ran all over this map trying to find an extra door or an extra something, but I couldn't find anything. Maybe I'm missing an Easter egg or something where you can go further on. I mean, it just seems as if you would be able to go to more than just this little bitty cabin on this map. So, yeah. But, I mean, even on this mode, you're not as much really shooting out the windows. You're more so just, like, running around in the cabin, shooting them already in the cabin. So, a little bit different. But maybe in some of the future maps that they come out with will be better on this. But, yeah, so, like, basically you've got your somewhat perks. I get perk sort of systems. They kind of go off of this jolt system, so that's kind of your currency in this game for buying more whatever in there. And I do enjoy that they had the box in there, you know, standard stuff like that, so you can go in there and just try to get better weapons out of the box. That's a lot of the fun to the zombies mode. So you got that to it. I'm sure there's not really sure what was in the latter rounds. Didn't really get super far because I was just playing solo, wasn't really playing with anybody else. But yeah, so I mean, I think it's okay. There is a bit of this like specialist sort of thing that they have, different specialist class sort of stuff, where like there's one of them where you can just shoot for unlimited amounts of time. Not really the biggest fan of any sort of specialist type thing in any game out there. I think it's just sort of cheesy. You're not really doing much anything. I mean, I know the original one had the thing where like the nuke pops up and the different stuff can pop up like that, but there was sort of a challenge to it. Like, if you could get to it, then you got it. But if you couldn't get to it, which was a really big thing in the later rounds, is really hard to get to it, then you would like realize, is it really worth it? Is it not? You'd have those moments where you just barely got to the insta-kill in time, then you start just blasting people. And they do have those drops in this game, but they also have the specialist perk kind of thing in this game. So it just adds a bit of a weird like Black Ops 3 kind of feeling to it. Not the biggest fan of that aspect, but yeah, overall thought it was decent. I would give the zombies mode an overall rating of like a, if you compare it to World at War, stuff like that, in its current state with the 2 maps that it does have, saying like World at War was a 10, then you could say this is like a, you could say this is like an 8. You honestly could. Not that bad, man. So I would say 8 overall rating wise, and I felt like just the actual pacing of it was pretty well. Like the different waves you go through felt good pacing wise. Didn't feel like you're just sitting there shooting silly, slow-walking zombies forever. Like, it really starts to pick up pace once you get down in that really bloody area of the map here. And I was really impressed with that whole area. It really gives you a scary sort of horror film feeling down there. Feels a bit trapped, feels a bit more spooky than the recent things that we've had. So, yeah, that's my overall opinion on the zombies. I felt like the zombies was fairly good in this game in comparison to some of the previous ones, but either way, I appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.